Malawi, a country in southern Africa. Most children grow up in poverty. Patrick Banda, a childcare worker from Tundu, will be following him and his sons. We will also follow childcare worker Hanex and his daughters, who live near Lilongwe, the capital city. They are all involved in the Roger Federer Foundation initiative, which has been made possible thanks to the partnership with Credit Suisse. How will the children develop over the next years? What changes will the country of Malawi see? It is the rainy season in Malawi. However, the plants have not grown as much as they should have. As in many other districts, there was far too little rain in the district of Mchizi. Whether the people here will be able to harvest enough food remains uncertain. 5 years have passed since ActionAid, with the help of the Roger Federer Foundation and Credit Suisse, built a childcare center in Tundu. Janet Kuyeli, the project coordinator, is paying one of her regular visits. The style of teaching has hardly changed here. In this district, Janet Kuyeli is fighting a particularly hard battle to achieve more progressive teaching methods. The parents of most of the children were only able to attend primary school. The aim is to introduce a curriculum that will be used in all childcare centres. In Tundu, this is difficult. However, they are all doing their best, and over the past 5 years, a lot has changed for the better in the children's lives.
There's a tangible change, yes. This project, we are also following up children who transitioned from here to primary school. The reports that we are getting from the primary schools are that children that have gone through CBCCs are excelling in their studies. When they go to primary school, they are easy to relate with. They already know how to associate with their friends. They already recognize the numbers, the vowels, and all those things. So we are making a very big, they are very different from the children who go straight from home.
Finally, clean drinking water has also become available in Tundu. The groundwater spring provides enough water to attract people from other villages as well. It is hoped that this precious water can be used in the near future for the vegetable patches of the childcare centre. In order to help the childcare centres secure their own funding, ActionAid Malawi has decided, upon extensive consultation, to provide each centre with $1,000 in seed money. Anyone with a good business idea can apply for a grant. This will ensure the continued existence of the childcare centres.
The caregivers will be able to borrow that money at a low interest rate, say 5%, 10%, and then any other people within the community, they will borrow that money at a higher rate, 30%, 20%, and then the interest will be accumulating, and the money that will be realized from the interest will be used for the running of the CBCCs. They will be able to pay the caregivers. They will be able to buy all necessary needs that are associated, that are in the CBCC center. And then we expect this fund to grow because of the interest rate, and then they will be able to retain it, or will be able to pass on that money to other centers as well.
At home with childcare worker Patrick Banda, he spends all his spare time working his tobacco field. The family makes its living from tobacco and peanuts. Janet Kuyeli visits the family because Patrick's wife suffers from malaria. During the conversation, she finds out that the 2 oldest sons have refused to continue their primary school education. Kuyeli asks their mother what the reasons might be.
At first, he attended a different school, but then we ran out of money to pay for the school uniform. We depend on peanuts for our livelihood, and this season the harvest wasn't big enough to allow us to buy school uniforms.
The older son is close to tears. The fact is that school uniforms are compulsory in Malawi. Although they only cost a few cents, poor families simply cannot afford to buy them. The father regrets this situation.
It
does not make sense for the children to attend the child care center and then not to go on to primary school level. After all, the aim is for them to complete their education. It is very important to me personally that the children finish their schooling after they leave the child care center. I have tried everything to force them to go to school, but unfortunately I haven't been successful. Of course, I will not give up and will try again, but I don't know if it will work.
If the two brothers have dropped out of school, then I'm worried that Tito may not also continue with his education. Secondly, because Patrick is a caregiver, he is a teacher at the CBCC, and if he cannot reinforce or if he cannot ensure that his children are going to school, how can he influence other parents to send their children to school? So it's a big problem, because one would think that Patrick knows the importance of education.
Tito, at least, still goes to school, even without his uniform. It will take more effort on the part of the state authorities to enable all children from this district to attend school. The number of schools in the district of Mchizi will not be the problem. This secondary school will help remedy the lack of education in this region. At the childcare centre in Mbwetu. Here too, the early morning warm-up program is in full swing. Hanex Kapingaza starts teaching the large group. His teaching is still improving constantly. He is one of the most dependable childcare workers at the centre, and he takes great satisfaction from his work.
I have learnt a lot about working with children and about early childhood development. I've also attended management courses. I am now ready to start my own small business. I have the necessary knowledge.
He will need this basic knowledge in his private life soon. His wife is having more and more problems with her legs and is no longer able to sell vegetables. These days, she earns very little on the side. Warm meals for the family have become increasingly rarer. All the children can do to try and fill their stomachs is to eat the local berries. While the woman cooks the precious maize porridge to perfection, her husband checks on his maize field. Because there was no money to buy fertilizer, the harvest will be poor this year.
We will not be able to harvest enough maize to feed the family for a whole year. I am responsible for my wife and children, and that is becoming an ever greater challenge. If there is not enough food at home, I cannot work at the child care center with a clear conscience. First and foremost, I must make sure that my family has enough to eat.
The lives of families such as Hanex Kapingaza's will be particularly difficult this year. Each mouthful of even the simplest of meals is savoured, and the adults go hungry for the sake of the youngest members of the family. Growing tobacco near the city is not as common as it is in rural areas. Only a few own the land and have the necessary means. Despite the economic difficulties, the children in Mbwetu now also have access to clean drinking water. Its use is monitored. Every drop costs money. In future, the childcare centre hopes to make a modest second income from the sale of water, as well as improving the sanitary conditions. However, even in Mbwetu, future self-financing is dependent on the $1,000 in seed money.
I think it's a very good idea, particularly in view of the current uncertainty with regard to food shortages that threaten us all. We have many problems to contend with at the moment, and we really find ourselves in a difficult situation. It's hard to volunteer at the child care center when one's family goes hungry at home. I'm convinced that the seed money will help me start a small business. Then I will have no problem coming here and doing my best for the children's welfare.
A committee will soon be formed in Mbwetu which will administer the funds and decide which loan applications will be granted and under what conditions, and which ones will not. Janet Kuyeli is optimistic.
We think by introducing this concept of revolving fund, then it will motivate the caregivers to stay. But these are only the ones that are in the project. At national level, the caregivers are not paid, and most of them are not trained still. So there are a lot of challenges. But we think that with the advocacy that we have done, and now that the government is coming up, we think that there is future for ECD in Malawi.
I feel optimistic about the future. The government has declared early childhood development a compulsory component of the education system. Moreover, many NGOs are also fighting for the children's rights. We have seen that more and more parents are becoming aware of the importance of their children's education and that the children have a right to education. In the next 5 years, many more children will come here.
The commitment of the Roger Federer Initiative and of Credit Suisse will continue until 2019. In view of the successes that have been achieved during the last years, we can assume that the early childhood development of thousands of other children in Malawi will also be improved.